Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. Reed, unfortunately, will not be joining us for this episode as he is working like the hard-working man that he is that we all know. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Burgundy Zone's Hollywood Dreams as the Commanders are traveling west out to LA to face the LA Rams. But joining us to be able to talk about this game and just the state of the team altogether is our boy Jamual, aka the Intellectual Forrest from the Trap or Dive podcast. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday night, brother. How you doing?
Look, man, I'm good. I'm healthy. You know, we were talking before we got on about, being festive. I think the biggest thing, I guess, for all three of us, is the fact that, we are healthy and, that moment to spend some time with family and stuff is here. So I'm in a good mood. All that to say, I'm in a good mood despite what 4-9 looks like.
Exactly where I was gonna go with it, well, because it's hard to bring it down. But you know what? It's the festive season, like you said, and we need to get excited for it. But that being said, going up against the Rams this weekend, Jamin Davis was put on IR, so obviously now there's going to be two linebackers on the field that we haven't really seen that much of. But because it being so late in the season, the record being 4-9, like you said, are there some players that you'd like to see get a lot of snaps that you haven't seen of a lot this season?
Yeah. I think my main thing though, when I look at that is like how are they gonna, work my guys onto the field. And like I think about Jabril Cox, who's been playing primarily on special teams. You don't know what he's going to be, if anything, and
Right.
it's no sort of expectation that be labeled on him. It's 4 games left into what is a very underwhelming season, so it's not like you're expecting him to be a superstar. But what can he show for these last 4 games to convince anybody that we can keep him around for a little bit longer? And in that same vein, in terms of some younger players, I look at Mitchell Tinsley as a receiver. I look at Kaz Allen. Like, Kaz Allen is unique because he's played running back in high school. He's also had some carries in at UCLA as well. And when you look at a person like him, this is probably the perfect mix to think about when you look at the running back position. And like, Curtis don't get that many snaps as a running back. Like, he's gotten handoffs or even snaps out of the backfield. But Kazmir Allen is a person who, coming into the season, you thought they would have had some sort of plans for. But I think the main thing was punt return. Like, he had to show that he can do something there. But I think he had some attention, or he got some attention from the coaches. And I think that's a person I look at. I'm like, how are you going to fit him onto your active roster? Like, you can get rid of Curtis Hodgins. Like, Hodgins, he's been here the whole season. He ain't played a snap.
Yep.
So, like, I think about people like Kaz Allen, Mitch Tinsley. I even think about, like, up in Quan Martin's snap count. Like, he's been playing in a limited basis, but at the same time, you're talking about a person. Look, man, you're 4-9. What do you have to lose at this point? Like, put him in a role, keep him there for the rest of the season, and see where that takes you. Or, like, have him in, like, as a post safety or in a slot cornerback, but don't have him like 4 or 5 different positions. Just make sure you try to see how he can work best, because you like that position flex thing is something that can grow a little bit tired and tired in a very sensible way. Like, if you stretch too many responsibilities out, like, they can't even be good at one. So you need to take these last 4 games and figure out where is he going to play next year. So there's plenty of people that I could keep going, but there's plenty of people, man. And I guess I'll stop with those 4 individuals.
Hey, to your point, I distinctly remember a quote from Brian Mitchell and saying that he's heard talk to people, basically, if you have a bunch of flex players and position flex, you're going to have a bunch of players that don't have a home, essentially. And to his point, he is correct about that. Sorry, Hall.
No, I mean, yeah, it's correct. Like you said, you master one thing before you try to master all things or everything. So, like you said, it gets a little tiring. But a guy that's going to be taking a lot of snaps, hopefully, in case like except for injury or whatever, but knock on wood. But is Sam Howell, obviously he's had an up and down season. You've seen the lows. You've seen a stretch of 3 or so games where he was playing good football. Some might even say close to great football as far as the offensive side of the ball goes. What would you assess him as far as like throughout the season so far, and what do you want to see him do down this stretch to kind of maybe say, hey, I am kind of be that guy going into 2024 with a new regime and everyone coming in?
So this season has been unique. I think it's been exciting to see this whole thing play out because it's a younger quarterback who has potential. Like you've known for some time that he's had arm talent, right?
Right.
You don't know how far that was going to take him because you didn't know like all of the other things. Like a whole, if you think about this offseason, the whole conversation was like, what are we missing? Like what don't we see when it comes to Sam Howell? Like we don't know what that is. And I think the conversation between having that optimism that he is the guy versus like I don't know or he can't be it because he's a 5th-round pick all stems on from a mental aspect and quarterback mechanic standpoint. Like that, the talent, the arm talent is there. The playmaking ability is there. Like he showed that he can make some plays, right? He shows that he makes plays more often than not in terms of with his legs and being able to buy time. But I think when you look at how he's able to from quarter 1 to quarter 4 with triple zeros on the clock, like how are you managing every single rep that you have and how are you managing everything that's in your control? And I think from that aspect, a processing standpoint has really hurt him. And now I'm not saying it's like all bad. I'm saying it's hurt him to the point like you're in a year an evaluation period where you have to be on your A game. And I think I got corrected from somebody on my show in the comments, and I actually agree with him. I said that while it's not fair to judge him from that standpoint, like you're in your 1 year, you don't have chances for mistakes or opportunities for mistakes. And I said more than that. The guy responded to me and commented and said, technically, like what he's experiencing is fair. There's not many 5th-round quarterbacks who get all 17 games, who has the opportunity to play all
That's
17
true.
games, regardless of his circumstances, right? Like everything ain't going to be a perfect situation around you. How do you operate in chaos? And I think for all of that being said, like I look at how Sam Howell has played to this point, and then you start factoring everything, right? The offensive line has not been able to help him out consistently. Even his coordinators to some degree has not been able to help him out consistently. But I think you look at the things that's within his control and how has he fared in that. And I think for Sam Howell, he's shown, again, a really good person who can make plays. He's even killed. He's never too upset. He doesn't throw his teammates under the bus. He's very responsible and mature as a speaker, as a person who owns responsibility. And then you look at a person who, from a arm standpoint, can make all the level throws. Right, he has the arm strength to do it, but at the same time, you're starting to see some like a quarterback who's really good on the short level. He's good on the intermediate level in terms of accuracy, but we haven't had a big play all season. And there's some opportunities downfield. You're like, well, why can't we hit those? And I look at tape and I sit here and say, the offensive line hurt him one time. The receivers couldn't find the ball one time. Right? People talk about, they had tons of drops. That's not true. I say that on any platform. They haven't had tons of drops. Like we can't excuse Sam Howell to that extent. But it is true that the receivers have made some mistakes. And then while I name those, I look at Sam and like, what is he responsible for? Like you got to look at every single level. And then like the biggest thing for a person, and we all know this, like we can't do revisionist history. One of his greatest assets coming into the league was his deep ball. And we haven't had one connect all season. And when you look at what he's responsible for when the conditions are well enough to make a play, we haven't been able to do that on the deep level. So these are several different things that you can look at and say, like, what do I think about Sam Howell? And I say all that to say, while it's the good and the bad, he's just inconsistent. I don't think it's a huge detriment that you can't hit the deep ball, but I do think it's something where it's like it's your highest touted attribute and it's not been able to get done. That's where the question exists from that standpoint. And then what I need to see out of these last 4 games, I'll be quick with this part. Look, it's at this point it's not much he can do except for like you're facing defenses that's at least no lower than like top 16. Like everybody's
Right.
top 16 and top 10. You need to be able to keep your offense and keep your team within these games. You need to make some high level throws. You need to compete in terms of like having a chance to win it in the fourth quarter while you being the primary factor that this team is in it on the offensive side of the football. That's the only way that you can even have a case in terms of like undoubtedly being QB1 for 2024. Other than that, we're going to be talking about quarterback when this offseason comes and they get a new general manager, new head coach, all that stuff.
Dude, the only reason why I laughed is just because I knew exactly what you were saying. In meaning of when watching the film, it's if it's not one thing, it's another, and it's hard. It's like what is that whack-a-mole type of issue where if it's the offensive line not seeing the guy, not being able to running the right route, bad play call possibly. But at the end of the day, what does that say? And it circles back to the immaturity of the team and that. They're young, and especially the quarterback, to your point, Jamal, and the inconsistency being there. But like you said, I said it after the Arizona game, as much as we want to say it's unfair for Sam Howell to say that he can't play like a rookie quarterback this season, it's the fact of the matter, and I'm sure that Sam Howell would rather have the opportunity to start all 17 games and rather than complain about his situation.
Even EB said in his presser today on Thursday, he said he told Sam, "You're not a rookie no more. Like you had enough reps, you had enough tape on there, like you had enough snaps for you to be like you got enough information out there to kind of figure out where you stand as an NFL pro. Yep. He's not a rookie no more. We need to dead that. We need to stop talking about he's just a quarterback in his 14th game or 15th game. We're past that point. Like that should have been dead after like 7 weeks."
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. And I would say after week 2, we have to look at this a different way because he doesn't have time, so to speak, with this new regime in front office, which leads into my next question. Obviously Christmas, the holidays are coming up, and so let's say Josh Harris is Santa, Jamal. What would you be on your Christmas list to Santa this year for this offseason that you would like to see?
Okay, let's see. Obviously, we know new GM. We know.
Is there anybody in mind that you think of?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like that GM stuff is so hard. Like you got your top list of guys that people like know from popular like successful NFL teams. I haven't done no homework to like give some detailed response from that standpoint. Like people. I'm not in the business of recycling
you're good.
names and information.
You're good. I read right before, like 2 hours ago, Bleacher Nation had just come out and said they had posted this article saying Josh Harris had spent time meeting with potential front office candidates this week in Dallas for the owners meeting. They brought up Ian Cunningham from Chicago. He was with the Ravens under Ozzie Newsome and also was with Philadelphia for a handful of years. He's only been in Chicago 1 year. And that's a guy I really like and a name that I've circled personally that I like. And I'm glad to see that Bleacher Nation is using that one dude for the whole article.
I think that's a good idea. Like in terms of like the pedigree part, like understanding where he came from. But I think instead of names, that's kind of where I was going to go. Like if you're looking at somebody with a pedigree, right, or somebody who comes from that type of stuff, like those are like that's the cream of the crop that you should target first and foremost. I don't know, like if there's a certain style that Harris believes, and I know people talk about analytics a lot when it comes to him. Like how much of a factor does analytics play a role? Like I don't think it's going to, like a job ain't going to be make or break depending on if this person likes analytics or fully believes in them. But I think like they need to have some type of common ground, and that's kind of where I would start though. Like what are the similarities, but also does this GM have that pedigree where any team can back him in terms of like their faith in him to get the job done? Ian Cunningham sounds like that's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. But to wrap this up, Jamal, I have a couple more questions for you. It's a beautiful Thursday evening. I know football's coming up. We want to be able to get to pre-gaming for that. But that being said, I want to get your kind of talking about this game in particular, or actually no, because you watched the film, so I do want to make this kind of depressing in an extent because I respect your opinion. I know what you see is good. What happened on defense this season? Like they've given up. They're last in the league in points per game. 3.7 more points than any the team in front of them at 31st. What this isn't something that I don't think that anybody truly expected.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected this one. Like, even if I was to, because I'm always worst case, best case type of person in terms of like trying to figure out, like thinking about like what can really go wrong for a team and what can really go right. Like if all things are considered,
Right.
And like dead last wasn't in my one. That wasn't in nothing that I can see coming. I could have seen a poor defense, but I ain't see nothing like this bad. And I think for what happened to the defense, it's like that's so multi-layered. I don't know what's going on with the scheme. I don't know what's going on with the position coaches. Like you're talking about people who have consistently inconsistent technique, can't maintain their leverage on the secondary level, as well as the linebackers in coverage. You got Cody Barton who was replaced. Who replaced Cole Holcomb. Like think about the people who had like the processing ability to understand what Jack Del Rio wanted or to understand what the secondary wanted. You look at Cole Holcomb, whether he's good or bad, right? I didn't think he was something special,
Right.
but he was good enough for this defense. And then you look at Bobby McCain. I talked about him a couple times this year, and the one thing that I never really doubted with Bobby McCain is that he knew how to communicate and he knew where he's supposed to be. Like the skill set was one thing, and even still, I thought that he was underrated by the fan base. But like he knew where he's supposed to be and he knew how to communicate. And I think when you have those layers in terms of like what you're supposed to do on the field, and when you see certain formations and unique looks, those are the people that you look at. You look at Cole Holcomb, you look at Bobby McCain, you look at these people, right? And then you could play faster, you can operate a little bit faster. So I think losing some of the players are important. I don't know to what degree Chris Harris is missed. Like people say his name a lot because that was the if you fire Del Rio, right, that's the next best in line type deal, and they let him walk, and he went to Tennessee. I don't know to what extent he played a role in this. And then you look at just the players all together. I mentioned Cody already. Cody, like I never met a dude like you meet contact in the hole on a pulling guard, and your first steps are backwards. And sometimes you even play your hat placement is incorrect. There's so many different layers with him. Emmanuel Forbes, I felt bad for him. I understand that he wasn't like his technique can be really lazy, and that gets him in trouble a lot. But also like I feel like what also hurt is the fact that your safeties aren't necessarily where you're supposed to be. I love Percy Butler's athleticism, but they expose him too much in the secondary as a postman. He's not that he's not that good in terms of like his play speed. And when I mean play speed, I mean like thinking fast and matching your actual athletic ability. He's playing slow, and I think like him being flat-footed so many times and getting manipulated by quarterback's eyes, like that hurts your secondary a lot because people are getting behind him with ease. And now you're talking about, when I mentioned the safety play, they're not helping out your cornerbacks. Manuel Forbes left out the drive. Quan Martin gave up a 70-yarder to Tyreek Hill last week or 2 weeks ago. Where is where's Cam Curl? Like when you lose people or when you try to shift roles or increase roles, you have Cam Curl playing in the post. Yep. And he can't do that. And like that's a primary box guy. And I think this season, side note, if he wanted money, it exposed him to what he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a negative. Sure. It's just like, all right, well, we gave it a shot. It's up to you if you want to take this bread as a box safety, or if you want to try your hand in the market. But I don't think you're gonna get that much money no more, player. Respectfully. And so like when you look at this defense, bro, those are the second and third levels. First level, man, you got pressure, but you wasn't making no game changing plays. It showed that first round pick, 4 of them investment wasn't a good deal. And that's unfortunate. Yeah,
the craziest thing I've been saying more is like, watching Emmanuel Forbes tape, you saw a very confident player, very aggressive player. You never saw that this season playing in this secondary. And obviously there was a massive miscommunication between coaching and the player to take a regression like that. But my next question for you, just to bring this to the draft, because I want to get your opinion on this. If Washington were not to go with a quarterback with a top 5 pick, what position do you think they should target there?
Ooh, you said top 5?
Yeah, with their first rounder. If they have a top 5 pick at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, well, come on, man.
There's gonna be that one guy in the comments, Mark.
They right on track, brother. But look, I would say there's two positions in particular. Offensive line for sure. I know you don't really get guards and centers that high, so obviously tackle is one thing. For those that's listening, I wouldn't be so, or even in the comments, I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss Charles Leno. And the reason why I say that is because you don't know how will. First off, contractually, you can technically cut him, but what's your plan if you cut him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got
Lucas.
Andrew Wiley currently at right tackle, and then if you cut Charles Leno, you're going with the rookie. Do you want Andrew Wiley, or do you want to see if you can shift Charles Leno to right tackle? Because if you go with quarterback, odds are Leno's probably staying at left side, or you picked up somebody in free agency where you're like, all right, we're going to roll with him at left tackle. So Charles Leno, I wouldn't exclude him out, but I would still think offensive line is in play. Charles Leno may just be on the right side now, or you may get a right tackle. Who knows? Anyway, offensive line is one. The second one, Brock Bowers.
Really? I thought you were gonna go Marvin Harrison. I thought you played wide receiver. I thought you'd be all over that.
I love me some wide receivers, man. But and I love Marvin Harrison. But I think for 3 years, think about how long 3 years is, fellas. Like, think about how quickly your life changed in 3 years, right? I was cool with Logan Thomas in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then things like drastically deteriorated with his situation. Sure, he was hurt, right? But that's part of football. So when you come back, like, what do you look like? And he doesn't look. He's never been a separator in terms of like with his athleticism. He was always a guy who just understood coverages and like he can separate from that standpoint, or he can go up and get a ball. He's 6'6". Like, it ain't gonna be no linebacker checking him that can cover him one-on-one.
He's usually had really good hands too, Jamal.
Has really good hands. So like that's what he's reliable on. Right. But get you a dynamic tight end. Like I love Marvin Harrison, but bump that. Give me my tight end, the person who can run well, the person who gets dirty in the run game, and the person who can separate with his athleticism and his smarts. I need a person who's that versatile in both facets of the offense. And give me that tight end, man. Offensive line tight end.
I know a lot of people will talk about that injury and everything, but honestly, dude, watching his tape, obviously it probably was before it, but you really do see that movable piece all over the field. He can do that short yardage like tight end screen or line up outside, do slants on a corner, and even downfield. You've played ball, like you as a bigger guy in Brock Bowers, it's going to be easier for you downfield. So you're talking about the threat in the short game and in the long game. The kid checks the boxes, but the injury is going to be a big concern. Maul, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Always appreciate you and your Twitter, following you. Before we get out of here, I'd like to plug your social media handle and your show, just in case anyone watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to, sir.
Hey, man, I appreciate y'all boys for having me, as always. It's good to catch up. You can follow me on Twitter at Let Maul Tell It. And then you can follow the Trapper Dive podcast at Trapper Dive on all social media, as well as YouTube. You can search in Trapper Dive. It'll be right there for you.
Yeah, and the film reviews on Twitter are all phenomenal. So make sure you guys go and check that out and follow Jamal on Twitter. Jamal, I can't thank you enough, brother. Have a happy holiday. Enjoy your December, sir.
All right, y'all too, man.
Catch you, brother. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Jamual Forrest. Always appreciate speaking with Mr. Jamal. How you doing, man?
Just chilling, man.
You slept through the last episode.
Yeah. Sunday or Saturday, it was my birthday weekend, so let's just say I had a good time Saturday night.
There you go. Yeah, so, it was really messed up that we did a whole podcast together, and you didn't tell us that it was like your birthday was the next day. And I went into work, and Shanice was like, "Did you tell Hall happy birthday?" I was like, "What are you talking about? It's his birthday today?" I was like, "Oh man, I look like an idiot right now."
Nah, but it's not a big deal,
Come on.
I'm no one special.
Come on now, man. Come on. No, latest news to come out with Washington before we get into fan questions and joined by our next guest. Commanders have released Danny Johnson. They cut him and then signed Caillou Blue Kelly, who is a rookie, but on his fourth team in his rookie season. Good to see. Like, obviously, some trends is kind of weird, the timing of it all. But to be perfectly honest with you, Hall, I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of times this season, like, Danny Johnson was one of those people I just saw out of position a lot.
Yeah, you know me, like going into the season, I always thought that since they drafted Forbes, they drafted Quan Martin, he was going to be maybe possibly one of those guys that was on the fringe, maybe possible cut list. Obviously, he ends up making the team. Good for him. Glad he made it. But like you said, he was one of multiple guys, not even just him, one of multiple guys out of position a whole lot this season. So, yeah, strange time to cut him. But at the end of the day, like you said, they signed the guy off waivers, and I know that I saw a report that the Rams had actually tried to claim him before, and
Mm.
I think whatever team he was on before this was in front of them in the waiver wire, so they got him. They tried to claim him again this time, and we were in front of them on the waiver wire, so he's coming here. So, I mean, the Rams saw, I guess, see something in him that could possibly fit what they like to do, and they want to see what he looks like. So, and they're a good organization, you know. Like obviously, they won a Super Bowl recently. They draft pretty well. So, if they see something in him, maybe he can get on the field here, maybe get in the system, and maybe he shows a flash or two down the stretch.
Yeah, I love Danny Johnson. I've always had respect for Danny. It's just for some reason the secondary of the season just has not been playing well and honestly up to par. So to
Might be
speak.
because they're getting coached by a former high school coach, but I don't know.
Come
I
on,
don't
man.
know. Like,
Come on, man.
I'm
Now
just
let's get in.
joshing.
Let's get into our fan questions, and this one is from the Colonel. And make sure you guys say prayers for the Colonel and his father. Obviously, my wife's grandfather going through a little bit of issue health, and so we just want to say prayers out to them. We're always thinking of you, Colonel. But his question is, Hall, Street Scores Rico is describing our last 4 games as in-season tryouts. He wants to see the younger players' capabilities to keep or trade. He also strongly advocating for us to tank for the higher draft pick. For the first time as a fan, I'm beginning to accept the theory of tanking. Seems to be the only way for us to get better. What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't say it's the only way to get better because you see teams year after year that are drafting outside of the top 5, top 10, even the top 15, top half of the draft that are constantly finding players, drafting well, developing well, and God forbid, they actually sign a second contract with the same team that they get drafted by. So it's not the only way. Like obviously, like see, like we're one of those. It's like one of those times where usually if you're drafting in the top 5 picks or something like that, normally you're going to need a quarterback because like quarterbacks run the league. They make your team go most of the time. And if you're picking that high, it's because you don't have a quarterback. We're in one of those weird situations where it's like we might have a quarterback and we're picking probably maybe in the top 5. So like it gets kind of like dicey, but I wouldn't say it's the only way to win. I wouldn't say obviously the players aren't tanking because they're still putting film out for the other 31 teams.
Right.
In case that they do get cut by a new regime or got to go elsewhere at some point in time. So, I wouldn't say tanking is the only way to go, but if you're a quarterback needy team, which, like I said, a lot of times the teams picking in the top 5 to 7, 8 picks are those quarterback needy teams, I would say that yes, like you want to tank to kind of get the best quarterback that you see fit in that draft. But are we that team? I guess we'll find out these last 4 games.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with you to an extent. Like, I'm not for tanking or anything, but this is what I want you to do, Colonel. I want you to take a sit back, sit back in your chair, get something to drink, maybe alcoholic. If not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anybody. And I want you to sit back and just say, if they win, that means we're seeing progress and possibly stability out of the quarterback position, the offense, which could benefit us in the long term. But if they lose, we're in a good position to add a really quality talent here in the first round. So either way, we're playing with house money. Let's just enjoy it, man. I'm not going to say I'm for tanking, but at the end of the day, if we win, I'm happy. If we
Listen
lose,
to this, Colonel. Colonel, best case scenario down these 4-game stretch is Sam Howell plays consistently average to above average like he did that 3-game stretch against, what was it, Philly, Seattle, and whatever the third team was. But if he plays like that consistently good down this 4-game stretch, and he puts up 25, almost 30 points a game, but darn, the defense gave up 35. We lost. That's the best case scenario because Sam Howell's playing pretty good to play pretty well, but they're still losing games, and it's not really going to be his fault, hopefully. So unless he throws that back crippling, pick 6 or whatever. But even then, it's like you're still putting up points on the board and you're consistently moving the ball. I think we'll be sadly happy, and we're like that little gif where like the girl's crying but like wiping her tears away but dancing, trying to be happy. Like that'll be us. We'll be happy that Sam Howell's balling, but oh man, we lost. Darn. I guess we're moving up the draft board.
you're absolutely right. Now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Corey Sanchez, one of our favorite friends, brothers of the show that we've gotten
Yes,
to
sir.
see that takes awkward, uncomfortable pictures of us when we don't expect it. Mr.
It's
Corey
your fault.
Sanchez. It is my
It's
fault.
your fault.
It is my fault. Because I saw you looking at me, I was like, "What's on my face?" But I should have known it was just my face. How you doing,
It was the
Corey?
drunks. You had the drunks on your face, Kyle.
I didn't honestly, Corey. The funny thing about that is I didn't even sip that much. I just had one shot, and that's how. Yeah, we don't need to get into that though. That's just that's a separate thing. But Corey, the question from the Colonel is it's as a first time as a fan, he's accepting the theory of tanking, and that seems to be the only way that we can get better. What do you say to that?
What theory is there except that you can't tank if you're bad? You can't tank if you're bad. If
Good
you're
point.
a terrible football team, you don't tank. You just keep on doing the same things over and over again. I think a lot of people were probably resigned to the fact back in the Chicago game. I wasn't one of these people, but I just think that the writings on the wall were not very good at a lot of spots across the way, and I don't think you can tank if you're not a good team. I think this team goes out here and plays hard every week in intentions, like Ron says, they're trying to go out here and win games. So, and they look like it. Why not fire Jack Del Rio? Why keep? If you're trying to make something happen, you should just kept Jack Del Rio throughout the entire season. So
you should know. In that case, you should have promoted Brent Wieselmeyer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's a heck of a name. I just don't. When people say tanking, I feel like they just like to use this word, like with the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins weren't good. They were 0-6 back in 2019, going up against us. Yep. They were a bad team. It's not really tanking. I think it's just doubling down on being a bad team and kicking the can down the corner. But that tanking is just. If the Chiefs were to wrap it up, I would say, yeah, they're tanking. That's it.
Yeah, and honestly, this week I put a tweet out there that for some reason really angered people. But what I said, the hardest realization this season was kind of understanding that over the past 4 years, that Ron Rivera's job was essentially just to carry the team and hold the boat afloat for it to be a solid product for when the new owner came here. And when you kind of think about the circumstances with cancer when he first started, you kind of because I hate the idea of thinking back to 2010, thinking we had a chance to be good in 3 to 4 years. And then when you're looking back on it, you're like, that was stupid, false hope. And that's kind of how I'm looking back at the last 4 years. How could we honestly have expected, without somebody at the helm being able to have cash on hand and say, let's get better at this? There was no true motivation, right? Is my personal opinion from the higher ups down and above Rivera, so to speak. And so I think that there was that's probably my biggest disappointment in all the last 4 years, is just being, I don't know, just stupid for believing so. But this next question, Corey, is from the Colonel. He said, I was pretty excited when we drafted Sadiq Charles in the 4th round of the 2020 draft out of LSU. He's been a disappointment mainly because of injury. He's also in the final year of his rookie deal, now activated off IR. Does he need to ball out the last 4 games to have any hope of returning, or is he already gone?
Let's be honest. Sadiq Charles' way of balling out is actually showing up through a whole game. But in all seriousness, sorry, that was mean. If he wants to have a role on here, he's going to have to show that he can stay healthy and play at a average or slightly above average level down the stretch. Because you know what? You don't need to hold on to assets that aren't proving anything to you, that aren't part of the building blocks here. And I think you've got some young guys that are going to come in here. Like we got Ricky Stromberg coming back. He can play that interior line spot, those guard spots, or that center spot, wherever whoever is here next year wants to put them at. So, and then you got a draft coming up. So you can get some of these guys in day 2 and 3. So, I think he needs to show that, hey, I'm worth getting maybe a 1-year flyer on next year.
Yeah, my man. And Corey, you say that about Sadiq Charles until you get a knock on the door and he shows up like that Big Bird gif in a denim outfit. And what's up, Corey? You were talking? No.
Yeah, I tell him, I said, yo, Sadiq, I was talking. I said, if you want to come and parlay with me, buddy, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I got insurance. So that's what, I got insurance. Shoot, come on now. Shoot, I'll take a couple more weeks off of work.
It was funny. My coworker and I were talking today about that Kevin Hart stand-up. And the funniest part is about him saying that no son should ever see his dad get beat up. And when like you talk about that he's like, "Who hit me?"
I thought I was getting jumped by 7-8 different people.
Yeah. Who hit me? He did that. No, he didn't. Did you see that? No, but I agree with you, Corey. With Sadiq, it's unfortunate that he couldn't stay healthy throughout his time here. But if we had to look at it from a GM's perspective, is it really that necessary to keep the nuts and bolts of the kind of situation here if the machine isn't working correctly? And I think that's one of the benefits of having as much turnover as we have contractually projected for this offseason for a new GM, is on top of having $90 million cap space, on top of having a top 5 pick and a lot of top 100 picks. This also contractually for this football team is set up in a way where you're starting with a great foundation. You don't have a contract like Albert Hainsworth. You don't have a contract like D. Hall or Landon Collins weighing over your head right now. You have a lot of cheap kind of contracts, and you're playing with house money, so to speak. So I think we're in a really good position. But unfortunately for Sadiq, I think these last 4 games, if he were to get the shot, I think he needs to really showcase himself on film to be able to get a shot with somebody else. Because I know Chris Paul himself needs some more time as well. I like Chris Paul a lot, but there was a lot of times on film that I saw that he's not doing things correctly, and that's leading to bad plays.
Yeah, and I just kind of piggyback off that. If you're a new GM coming in, you're examining the entire roster, guys that are on expiring contracts, continuing contracts, no guaranteed money, stuff like that, whatever else it might be. You look at a guy like Sadiq Charles, and even if he does, he can play like the best guard in the league for these last 4 games. Unfortunately, I don't think that 4 great games of the best guard play in the league is going to erase 3.5+ years of inconsistencies and injuries and whatnot, especially especially on an expiring contract. Like, why would you re-up with a guy that, well, you showed me 4 great games, thank you, but are you going to show me another 4 and then get injured? Are you going to show me another 8 get injured? Like, the risk of injury, unfortunately, just has been too consistent with him and not the football field play. So
that being said,
yeah, to your point, these last 4 games, he can definitely put some on film for another team, but I just don't think it's going to be here.
Yeah, to your point, Deluxe had a question in the Discord chat that's obviously very similar to this, Hall. But Corey, after Hall goes, I want to get your opinion. Deluxe asks, if Sadiq Charles is healthy, would you want to see him or Chris Paul this week? Paul is younger and under contract next season. Charles is in his last year and has injury history like we were just talking about, Hall. So what would you pick for this week?
I would just let I guess you would want to see the young guy because he's here under contract and he's the guy that's going to potentially be here down the line, at least for another year plus. But at the same time, you're looking at a guy like Sam Howell. You want the best for him, the best potential situation on the field development-wise for him. So if Sadiq Charles is better than Chris Paul right now and is going to jump back in there and mesh better with the line and do his job better than Chris Paul, then I want him to be in there because I want the best for Sam Howell because I want to see what he can actually do down this 4-game stretch. Because honestly, like, is Chris Paul important going forward? Possibly. Can he be the guard guy? Could he be the guard going forward? Possibly. But Sam Howell being the guy supersedes anybody else on this roster right now. So we need to see the best 5 in front of him playing. And if that's Sadiq Charles, it's Sadiq Charles. If that's Chris Paul, then that's Chris Paul. But, yeah, I'm more worried about Sam Howell and his development as opposed to a guy like Chris Paul right now.
Yeah, I agree with the continuity aspect of the offensive line. Obviously, Chris Paul has been in the past couple weeks with the rotation, so he's good to go in the sense of the continuity aspect of it. But that being said, dude, honestly, I really do not care with either one. I would like to continue that to see Chris Paul into next season. It's obviously better to do that long term. It's not good for Sadiq Charles' career. But that being said, what's more important, protecting Sadiq Charles and his mindset or protecting Sam Howell, to your point, Hall. But I will say this, honestly, I don't care. How about we screw with people? How about we have Sadiq Charles come out for 3 snaps and then bring him back out and bring in Chris Paul?
Do you know the wild thing about that is? We've already done that.
I know. I'm saying even
Cosme was rotating between guard and tackle every other series last year.
What I'm saying is,
what are we doing?
What I'm saying is, screw with people even more. Bring him in for 3 plays and then bring him out at left guard. You know what I'm saying? Just make people complain even more.
One's the first and second down guy. You have first and second down running backs.
Oh,
we have first and second down guard. Then we put our third down guard in.
Do it, please. It would be so funny. It would be so funny. What about you, Corey?
Fun fact. Chris Paul is older than Sadiq Charles, so that kind of yeah. He's 25 and Sadiq's just 24.
That is
So
crazy.
yeah,
That
he's got a
I
few
would have
months on
never
him.
even thought that. So,
I mean,
well,
yeah, you
shout
look
out
at
to Sadiq Charles.
yes,
Been in the league for a
It's
minute. That means damn, that
yeah.
means he was 20 or 21 when he came to the
Yeah.
league. That's
right.
wild.
That denim outfit just makes you think that he's older than he is. I know what happens. I know. I get it.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, some people are more put together. Yeah, I mean, uh, it doesn't matter at this point. Whoever's healthy, just throw them out there, and just that's what practice is for, right? To get these reps and go out there and show your medal. So, to me, I don't have a favorite in this race. Just go out there and show me you want to be here.
Yep. I totally agree with you, man. And because obviously being the bye week, you want to see some energy, some rejuvenation, especially going out to LA. It's put on a good show out in Hollywood. Now the next
Bro, if they
question.
come out flat and get smoked, I'm gonna be like, what are we doing here?
Deja vu.
Are you saying that because of Snoop Dogg? But no, Corey, this next question is from Orange Crush 92 in the Discord. His question is a really good one. Trading draft picks for a coach. What's all that about, and should we do it?
I think it's the most ignorant thing you can do because if you look at it, John Gruden won with Tony Dungy's team, right? So I don't really think that really worked out. I mean, outside of that, they really weren't that. I don't even think they competed for a championship game in the NFC after they went to Super Bowl his first year in Tampa. So, one, I think you're mortgaging the future for one guy who possibly could make a difference on the field, but he's not going to make an instant impact on the field like a player would. So, no, heck no.
I
Big
will,
and little O. No, you don't
I
trade
will
him.
say this. I totally agree with you, Corey. However, there is
But-
one single instance I would excuse it depending on how valuable the assets are that are being waged. But if you're talking about Sean McVay, then yes, I am all for it. And it depends on how much, because Sean McVay has shown the ability to be able to adapt based on what's happening with this situation. You could talk about Puka Nacua and what's going on there. Losing the offensive line 2 seasons ago, like losing Whitworth after the Super Bowl, having to regroup that around. And you see at this point that Sean McVay has done a good job. Offensively, they are top. They have a 7th in red zone. They're 11th in third down percentage. They're 10th in points per game, 12th in rushing yards, and 12th in passing yards. Obviously, this is the same offense for 3 consecutive years with a proven vet quarterback. Easier said than done. But that being said, with Sean McVay, I think that if you're looking for somebody that you could say would guarantee production based on if you had to trade valuable assets for it, I think Sean McVay would be the one. But as soon as you're talking about like a first round, second round, I think I'm going to start looking the other direction. I think that's way too valuable to do that for the head coach, essentially. Because, like, why couldn't you just wait out? Like, is it a guarantee he's going to re-sign with LA? You know? Why didn't you just wait it out?
Yeah, no, I'm not trading the draft picks for any coach, whether it's Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Tomlin. Like, I mean, look, Steelers want to trade
I
Mike
don't even
Tomlin
think
for
Kyle
like
Shanahan would want to leave that situation. I think
I
that'd be
know,
a bad
but
thing
look,
to do.
everyone wants Mike Tomlin to run out of Pittsburgh. Like, they want to trade Mike Tomlin for our 3rd round comp pick that we got for what's it called? Whoever it was. Cool. Like, I'll give him like the 100 and whatever pick for Mike Tomlin. Like, that'd be a fair trade to me. But like you said, I'm not giving up a 1st round pick or a 2nd round pick for a coach
Hell no.
that can be spent on a player that can become possibly a franchise like cornerstone of your team, as opposed to a coach where who's to say that 4 or 5 years from now he's like, I'm burnt out, I don't want to be here no more.
Right.
Well, now you just passed on a cornerstone of your franchise for a guy that was only around for a couple years. So yeah, I would never trade that. Like, I mean, if a team wants to give us a draft pick for like to sign Eric Bieniemy or something like that, then cool. Like, I'll take the draft pick, but I don't want to be in the business of giving them out.
Yeah, we went from crossing legs, Indian style, outside of a bar to crossing arms. And apparently the crossing of arms is more of an issue to everybody else than the crossing of legs was. But, we don't need to get into that. Now, the next question that we have from the Discord is from our guy, Tim Towner, Corey. His question is, buying or selling? What would you do with Khari Hudson this offseason?
I'm selling.
I think this week in particular is going to be huge for
Mhm.
Khalik. And one guy like Scooter Harris, like we've heard Coach Greg Curl talk about Scooter a lot, being his familiarity with Curl, but I think that he's injured. This would have been a great week for Scooter to come in and be able to showcase what he could do. But obviously, Khalik coming in, he's had some playing time here and there being manipulated, but I think that it's a really good point for him to be able to showcase himself going against a hot electric offense, and he's going to have plenty of snaps to be able to showcase that along with Cody Barton. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, unfortunately, he's a Michigan man, so go blue. But I got to sell just because, I mean, he's been here for what, 4 years at this point, almost 4 years, and he's only got on the field for special teams. And when he has got on the field, he has made plays, but it hasn't been like a consistent, like down in, down out type of thing that he's gotten in there. So, unfortunately, like you said, good special teams player, great special teams player, but great depth piece as far as like in your locker room and if you need him to come in and for a couple reps, a couple snaps, or a game or two in a pinch because of injury, good piece to have. But I mean, honestly, I'm just looking at it from a new regime coming in, new GM, new eyes. More than likely, outside of maybe Cam Curl or anybody on an expiring contract, anybody with guaranteed money is probably up for going to be either not here next year because they have an expiring contract. And if you have no guaranteed money left, you might be up for sale. So it's going to be a almost completely different roster. They talk about turning around rosters every couple of years. This roster is going to be turned around come 2024.
I'm with it. All I'm going to say is that with Khari Hudson, because of the lack of production, he could be depth that you could retain for very, very cheap. And as a GM, when you have barely anybody, I think Jamin Davis is the only one that's going to be under contract next season. With the draft not having a bunch of linebackers in it that you could say that guarantee I'm going to be able to grab that guy, at least supplement it. It is one of those guys you could say, because you talk about special teams, the backup linebackers play special teams, and it would be a good decision to bring somebody back that's solid in that regard and could bring depth. But I wouldn't be mad at the fact if a GM said, well, if they didn't do anything while they're here, I don't want to have them back, and I get that. I do. All right, let's go to the next question. This one is from our boy, Tony Franchise. Corey, what are you looking for from the team coming off the bye and moving forward these last few games?
That they have a pulse. I haven't seen a pulse out of this team in, I would say, 3 weeks, right? I think they just came off flat like pancakes. And I want to see a little fight. I want to see that team that played against Seattle that could have beat Seattle. Not this one. Seattle. Yeah, should have beat Seattle. I'm not seeing these guys who were serving up chicken cutlets to some Sopranos knockoff. So I want to see these guys compete. Don't call me crazy. I want to see us win. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a fan first. I don't care about draft picks and everything because I can go play craps at the casino. And that's all the NFL draft is at the end of the day is craps to me. So I want to see us win. I want to see us win against one of our former coaches who is always blasted on the big screen that says, hey, they were here in Washington and we let them go. And this is the only guy who I would consider we really just let move on because he got another job. All the other guys had jobs in between. Some of them had multiple jobs. So, exactly. That's why I want to see us go out there and act like a team that's got this stuff together and possibly win a game or play a competitive game.
I totally agree with you, Corey. Like, honestly, do you want me to be perfectly honest with you guys? What I truly want to see? Like, I want to see this team play pissed off. Like, yeah, John Allen can go in front of the camera, talk all that crap, cuss a bunch, say, I'm tired of this shit, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. You know what? I want to see you Andre Johnson. I want to see you Andre Johnson, some offensive lineman. I want to see you take him by his neck, throw him on the ground, start punching him in the face. I want to see like in the longest yard. At least show me some emotion. Be pissed off. If you're gonna be pissed off, inflict it against the other team. Because at this point, it seems like you're saving all your energy for the post-game interviews. Yep. I'm tired of that, dude. Let's go kick some freaking ass. You have enough guys on this team that you've seen it before that can play well. That's why it's mind-numbing what's happened to this defense. We know you could play. What the hell happened? How about we play with some damn fight? I want to see Sam Howell punch Aaron Donald in the jaw. I just want to see some fight, all right? Just do something. I don't care. Just get him angry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with both of y'all. I just want to see some fight. I want to see that. I don't want to see you guys just come out. They come down the field, score their opening drive, or something bad happens the first drive or two, and then you just put your heads down and here we go again. Like just the give up attitude, just like hurry up and get through the game, like hurry up and get through this 60 minutes so I can get back on the plane and go home type of attitude. So yeah, I just want to see them come out, be competitive, not get boat raced by another team. I want to see them. Yeah, look, like Corey said, I'm a fan first. I would love to see them win. Like, I hate watching my team lose week in and week out. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It's maddening. So, like, I would love to see them win. And to your point, like, do I care about the draft pick? Yes, somewhat, because I do know the higher the draft pick, the more success rate you have to hit on, whatever it is, whatever you want to call the rate, the percent rate. But like I was talking about before, I don't care what position you're drafting in. It's about the person evaluating the talent and the person that's coaching and developing the talent. Because we see teams year in and year out picking at the end of the draft, middle of the draft, 5th round, 6th round, 2nd round, 4th round. They find players. We seem to be the only team that somehow never really finds those type of players. So I'd like to have somebody come in here and be that person that finds those type of players. So yes, I want to see my team win. But like I said before, my dream scenario is Sam Howell comes out, the offense comes out, puts up 300, 400 yards plus of offense. They put up 25 to 30 something points, but the defense gives up 35. Darn, we lost. But the offense balled out. Sam Howell balled out. So that's what I want to see.
Hey, great job, dude. Real quick, very, very quickly, what are your game predictions? Do you have it? Do you want to give one? MVP?
Yeah, I predict that hopefully they're going to come out with some, like, I would hope that you just got a whole bye week off. Like, you got a little bit of time to refresh, regroup, rethink things, and say, hey, let's put our best foot forward through this 4-year stretch. I know, my bad. So I'm going to say they're at least competitive. I do think that the offense does some numbers. It's going to be nice weather out in Cali. People are going to be happy to be in LA. So I'll say they lose. I'll say they lose 30 to 24.
30 to 24.
Yeah, and MVP, I'll say Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson has a good game. Over 100 yards combined.
Brian's had a great season, and he definitely deserves a vote for the Pro Bowl. I think, honestly, as fans, I think that it's a nice gesture just to say, like, what hurts you to just put the hashtag and just to give a vote for somebody? Like, yeah, they've had a shitty year. I get it. They don't deserve it. But at the end of the day, just like, hey, man, I like you. Here you go. Here's a vote. Even though you might not win, here you go. I like you. Here you go. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird. But no, to wrap this up, last question I have for you guys before we get out of here. Corey, what was your opinion on Ted Leonsis announcing the possible move to Alexandria with the Wizards and Caps?
Well, everything that Ted does makes him look like a fool now. So I think this is just a big stunt. I believe it when I see it. Because they were talking about like framework and everything and the extension thereof. And now, I mean, he really did look like Little Rocket Man. He's got his little North Korean monumental sports where they can't talk bad or constructively about the Wizards. They've basically put our guys, JP and Mitch, in the corner and just calling it Beltway football. And yeah, I just
Mitch doesn't deserve that.
Yeah, they don't deserve that.
No, Mitch doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. I see what you're throwing down there, Kyle. I just think this is Ted has made himself look bad, and then his book he was talking about. I was listening to one of these podcasts, and it was The Business of Happiness, where he kind of applauded Abe Poland for what he did, invested in the community, and now he's going to scamper down here to Virginia, which. You know what? You only got a 4-year, one-term governor. So this could flip on him very quickly, and it could be like the Skins back in 92, and they back out, and they're still back there in Chinatown.
I got you. Honestly, I actually kind of love it. I think it's awesome of Ted Leonsis flexing a little bit, given the situation that he has. Typically, local officials like to flex their power, their ability to have control over things in order to manipulate, get the most for themselves. And I think a lot of times those people are arrogant to the fact that the people are the ones that give them that power. And so I really enjoy to see the people who have the ability to be able to flex back a little bit, because those people had no issue flexing on us for 3 years and using us as the blunt of the joke. They love to go out and parade, say, no.
What do you mean those people?
They don't want them. Nope. Actually, you know what? We're gonna bring that. You know what? We're gonna bring that offer down. No, let's just embarrass them even more. Enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion either way. Like, I see both sides of it. I see, because we all saw the article that came out about how the city took away 24 out of the 27 police officers, and now Ted got to pay for it himself, and all like the little like behind the scenes stuff that was going on, that he was pretty much having to dish out money out of his pocket that was also being provided by the city before, but was taken away. So, and obviously, which I haven't been to a Wizards game in, it's actually been like 5 years because it popped up on my Facebook memories because it was around my birthday. But yeah, so I mean, I've never really been to like another basketball arena, so like I don't really have a comparison. So I'm looking at Cap One like, it's not that bad to me. But apparently it's like one of the worst arenas in the NBA. So didn't know that. So I mean, I get his side of it where it's like, I want to build my own little, like, mini city type thing where all owners of every sports team except for like hockey are doing nowadays. Mm-hmm. So I get his side of it where it's like, hey, world. Yeah, exactly. I want to build my own little like tiny world. And I get the city side of it where it's like, hey, like you said, like you talked about giving back to the city, and I want to be like a big community guy and a great neighbor and blah, blah, blah. Well, you're about to gut the rest of downtown right now. So I see both sides of it, but at the end of the day,
those businesses in Chinatown are going to be pissed.
Clyde's already came out. Clyde's down in a Chinatown gallery place. They already came out today and said if they move, they're closing their business down because they're not going to. It's done. Yep. But yeah, so I look.
Good job.
At the end of the day, these billionaires don't become billionaires because they're looking out for the little guy. They're looking out for themselves and trying to line their pockets.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I try to tell people all the time.
He's going to do what he's
money have a place to go. You with no money have no place to go.
He's going to do what's best for his company because it's his duty and his fiduciary duty to do what's best for his company and his investors. So at the end of the day, it sucks for the little guy. It sucks for the people of DC. Yep. It sucks that another team is getting moved out of probably going to get moved out of DC.
Yep. You try to flex on that big money, dude. They got places.
I would just say this: if you were in Ted's position, would you take the best deal possible, or would you say, you know what? I'll give in and give up to I'll look out for the little guy like I've done so many other times throughout my life. No, you're going to take the best deal and what's best for you. He's not going to look out for Dan Snyder. So, yeah, I mean, but look, at the end of the day, as Commanders fans, let them go. Let them leave because it just clears the path for them to come right back down to D.C. where we all want them in anyway. So thank you, Ted Leonsis. You did us all a favor.
That's exactly what I said on Twitter the other day. Totally agree with you that this now actually helps the Commanders if this does go through, because now DC has an incentive to be able to bring the Commanders back home. And so I'm glad that you flexed on us for that amount of time. Now I need you to come correct when you talk about us and what you would need from us, what we need from you to make sure that we can make this deal go through so we can all be smart people and actually do the correct thing here without abusing or without manipulating things for your own benefit. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. Corey, you're the man. Expected father coming up here soon. I can't thank you enough. Tell your wife I hope she's feeling well. I hope everything is going well. And we love you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, the Cowboys 10-3, so she's just having the time.
Oh, no.
I mean, pray for me, y'all.
At least one of you guys is happy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Happy, what they say, happy life, happy wife. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I'm with you, Corey. I get it. We're 4-9. That's why I have you on here to bring up good mood and happy times. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
I don't even know what a fiduciary is. But take that F and that off, and that's Ted Leonsis.
I've heard commercials about it. Couldn't really explain it to you, but something to do with money. So, rich people talk about it.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you guys.
Try a little rich flex.
Remember, we're going to be recording on Sunday again. We're recording on Sundays from now on, but expect it after the game. I would probably around 8, 9 o'clock. We'll be recording after it. All right, expect it then. All right, everybody. We'll see you then. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.